you can't heal until your nervous system comes into that, and it almost just got to the point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. My daughter said, she's like, I just want you to be able to come and do things with us, Mummy. I just miss you being there. It was just heartbreaking to hear that. And then I saw one of yours, which was with Veronica, and she was the person that got me most of the way to better.
Sometimes people get COVID and they seem to just breeze right past it, only to be hit a week or two later with fatigue and other horrible symptoms and finding themselves in for the long haul. That's exactly what happened to my guest today, Jules Rogers. My name is Raelan, and for those of you who are new around here, this channel is all about sharing ME/CFS and long COVID recovery stories, strategies, and resources. We dive deep into what works for the people who recover, what didn't work, and all the incredible insights they've gained on their journeys back to health. Facing a fairly typical medical dead end, Jules from Plymouth, England, kept looking for answers, drawing encouragement from YouTube channels like mine and Jez Mettinger's. As she was piecing together her recovery puzzle, it was a video right here on this channel that helped Jules unlock that final part of her recovery. So let's jump in and hear all about it. Jules, so great to have you here today. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. I just want to give back. It's been so beneficial listening to your videos when I was recovering. So I just like to share what I've learned on my journey.
Amazing. So tell us about your journey. What has this been like?
Well, apparently I had COVID at the very beginning of the first lockdown, but I wasn't really even ill with it. And I didn't have the kind of typical symptoms, but I'm guessing that that's what it was because there was no testing then. Because my partner and who he worked with had the normal kind of symptoms that they were looking for at that time. But shortly after that, probably about 2 weeks after I'd kind of felt a bit off, I got feeling really fatigued. And when I was 18, I had glandular fever, which became post-viral fatigue syndrome. And for me, it just felt just like that. So it was kind of this thing, I know what this is. It feels the same. And yeah, so that's where it started. And then I kind of went on from there. I kind of took a few weeks off work and then I tried to go back and I did it. I managed about 6 weeks and then I asked for reduced hours because I just couldn't cope at that level. And that lasted again another couple months and I just couldn't cope. So I stopped working because I was doing quite an emotionally kind of draining job and I just couldn't do that with no energy. So I stopped working and then kind of focused on trying to get better. But in the meantime as well, I've got 2 young children. They were struggling with the kind of difficulties of COVID. And so trying to support them as well made it, quite difficult. But yeah, we kept going and I tried many different things to try and get better from there.
When you had glandular fever and then the post-viral condition after that, how did that resolve itself back when you were 18? It
just kind of got better on its own. I got it in the last year. We have A levels, which is what you take, but 16 to 18. So it's 2 years, second year of A levels. At the time, they never diagnosed me as glandular fever. It started as like chest infections, tonsillitis, but they never tested me. But then I just was exhausted. So I wasn't able to do my exams. And later, I think it was so I got ill in the November. And then I think it was the August the next year, they actually said, and I got sent to an ME specialist and they tested me and said, you've had glandular fever. And I was like, nope, no clue. But it just seemed to me that I just got better. I think I was 18. I was the pressure of doing exams had gone and I just lived and it just got better. So I didn't actively do anything the first time around. It just time, I would say, is all it was.
So this time around when you got COVID and it felt very similar to the first time, was your thinking that I just have to wait this out and it's going to go away?
Yes, I thought I just need to rest and then I will kind of get better again. But it was very different having all the other complexities of family life and a job and the juggle and COVID where we were in a state of hyper alert all the time. It was our nervous systems were just overwhelmed. Yeah, it was very different. But I was kind of thinking that, but after time, I just knew I couldn't juggle everything like I was needing to. So I kind of, that's why I gave up work and stuff like that, because I knew I couldn't get better and be doing other things.
So what sorts of things did you try once you started working on getting better?
So I tried lots of different diets. I kind of started on nutrition first. I tried like a raw green kind of food, diet. Like I was making these green smoothies every day and
raw green food.
It was not just green fruit, but it was all like raw vegetables basically. And I'd always start the day with this massive green smoothie that would take me a good fair part of the day to get through. And that didn't make a massive difference, surprisingly. And then I discovered the low histamine diet was being seen to help people. So I tried the low histamine diet for probably a couple months. And again, that didn't really make any significant difference, because when you're in that total exhausted state, trying to manage all these different diets was really hard work. And so it might have done a little bit, but not enough for the stress of trying to work out what I can actually eat and cook and everything, and trying to cook, and because it was so different to what everybody else in the house was cooking. So it's like that extra task. So I did that for a while and then decided not to do that anymore. I think later, a few months after that, I met with a nutritionist and they had me to do an elimination diet, which cut out most stuff that could be triggering in any way. So there was like no dairy, no wheat, or no gluten. It was just quite high protein. There was no carbs, no pulses, nothing like that. And then I started, after about 6 weeks, I think it was, reintroducing. And pretty much everything could go, well, no. Dairy I've never been great with. I was lactose intolerant before, so I just didn't go back onto dairy at all, and discovered I couldn't get back onto to gluten either. But again, it didn't make this massive difference to me. So that got me to about kind of September in my kind of second year. So it had been about 18 months that I'd been ill by that time. And I then I felt a bit better on that nutrition, but then I had a big relapse in the September. And I think I put that down to, like, we have the big summer holidays here and all the energy that goes into looking after the kids full time for those. And then I dropped, and I kind of really dropped then. And I probably got to almost my kind of hardest stage there. And I was watching a lot of your videos. I came across Pamela and I did her fatigue course, which was good. I took away from that. It's weird. You do these little things and there's like bits that you take that has been really helpful from bits. And from her, it was like learning to just accept where you are right now. Just for now was the phrase I took from her, which I used for such a long time. And now that I've now trained as a holistic life coach and mind body practitioner, and I still use that with my clients. I'm like, this is just for now. It will get better. Yeah. And it was just, that mantra I kept going round in my head. But again, it kind of helped a bit, but not dramatically. And then we got to like, I don't know, I think it was like February in the next year. And that was at my worst point. I was kind of housebound by then. I couldn't really walk very far. Like, I don't know, we've got 2 flights of stairs in the house, and to get to the top flight was where our bedroom is. That was like several stops just to get up there and stuff. And then I saw one of yours, which was with Veronica, who was a mind-body therapist. So after seeing that one, I contacted her and we worked together, and she was the person that got me most of the way to better. I said she got me probably about 80% there. And then I started doing a lot of kind of work on catching my thoughts and really paying attention to what my thoughts were, especially if they were negative, to then really reframe them and give myself positive thoughts. And that kind of on top of all the mind body work was kind of the path that got me back to health again.
So what did your work with Veronica look like? What were the things that were helpful that started turning things around for you?
a lot of it was to really get you to become aware of how your symptoms and what you're thinking about at the time when your symptoms arise. So that connection between symptoms and thoughts, and also then to work out an action that you can take to try and either alleviate, get rid of that symptom, or at least make it better. And then kind of and it was about keeping a diary of that consistently, and then working out what worked and what didn't work. And it was really interesting, like different symptoms and different emotions were requiring different actions to make me feel better, which I found absolutely fascinating. Kind of if I was feeling quite frustrated and frustration of where I was at that moment. For me personally, singing was the way that I would get out of that. And just that release from singing was just, it was great. And I've never been a singer, I've never done, but I've always liked to kind of sing around the house, and it just felt so good.
It's amazing. Irina, who works on my team, she's just telling me how she started singing, and she's on her own CFS journey, and just how much it's been helping her. So this morning before today's interviews, I was singing as I was getting ready. It's crazy, the simple things that we've overlooked most of our life, we're starting to understand have a really powerful effect on our physiology, on our energy, our mindset. It's incredible. Yeah, singing is supposed to do a lot of really great things.
And I think as well, the mind body, it's like I know for me, when I was ill, I spent a lot of time in my head trying to work out how to get better and not really connecting my head and my body. I know that sounds quite daft, but it's like so much of it was my head, and I'm not connecting that emotions really have such an impact on our physical body, and how when you really pay attention to what your body is telling you, it just is sending us these messages all the time that we just disregard. And so it was really about tuning back in to what are these messages that my body is sending me. And just that connection. And also it's about learning how significant our nervous system is. And before I met with Veronica, I had been reading quite a lot, and I learned about polyvagal theory. And I really found that so interesting, the kind of my body. And I definitely, before I got ill, life was really stressful at home. And I believe that my nervous system was up in that kind of sympathetic state for a long period of time. So I was being chronically kind of stressed. And it almost just got to the point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. And it was that almost like that shutdown. So the dorsal vagus kicked in, and I was like, that's it. I can't push any harder. It's not going to work.
I'm finding this is a unique thing that you're sharing that I haven't heard in a lot of interviews. This concept of, I have the symptom, what action can I take in this moment to get rid of it? And when you said that, I was thinking, yes, that's the $1 million question. So singing was one of them. Were there other things that you found that helped with symptoms?
So it was a lot of trial and error. And so some days another example is if I was just quite tired, that physical drained, tired, I would just go and be outside in nature. Nature for me is such an important part of my life. And I'd kind of got a bit disconnected from it. As a child, I spent a lot of time in nature, and life kind of got busy and everything, and I kind of disconnected from it slightly. But just going back, and just if I could just go and sit in the garden and just really be in the garden and just listen to the birds and listen to the wind and watch, we've got cats, just interact with them outdoors. Just that was really nurturing for me. And again, the nervous system just calms for me in that environment. So nature was another really good thing for those emotions. And when I had those symptoms of just really tired and fatigued, singing. And even just another thing I found was, even though you're exhausted, my brain kind of felt a bit bored, and just like it needed, sounds daft, that because stimulation could be so tiring, but also there was part of it that was bored. So it was just, sometimes it was like, I'm not going to sit in the seat that I end up sitting in all the time. I'm just going to move and be in a different space and just give it some other stimulation, something different to look at. And I realised as well that the telly, which I'd kind of used as my companion to a certain degree, wasn't helpful at all. It didn't relieve any of my symptoms. Yeah, so it was just so interesting to use that kind of it. And I'm quite scientific in my mind, so to me it was like an experiment that I can kind of, no, that doesn't work for that, but oh, it does work for this. So I found that so beneficial and quite interesting, and it was stimulating to my mind and my brain to kind of work this puzzle out.
I absolutely love this. I think this is incredible. And it's great that you pointed out that it is trial and error. So someone else might try singing and it just doesn't work for them. And that's okay. That's not your thing. Yeah. But what is your thing? Just kind of, listen, trust that inner voice that's telling you, and just, keep trying things. And for other people, TV might be the thing. I remember I watched Big Bang Theory start to finish, I think twice. And I laughed. And I suspect for me, that piece was actually, and I exaggerated my laugh, like it was my chance to really focus on being happy. So it's going to be individual, but it's so incredible that there are things that we have so much more control over this than we thought. Like I used to just feel like symptoms were coming out of nowhere and I had no control over when they came, when they left. But there are things, so many things that we can do in the moment to reduce them and even eliminate them, which is incredible.
And I think as well, because our society is so fast paced these days, and we live so quickly, something, slowing down to find these things is kind of, it's against where we've been that's got us in this place. That fast-paced life, that fast trying to do everything is kind of very different to the kind of mindset you need to find these things that seem so simple but can have a big impact on how you feel and how you can change that state of mind to kind of shift that emotion and that symptom.
Yes, and we're so far gone from the environment that our, people before us grew up in, and we're brought up, taught that, pills and surgery are the solution to everything. Yeah. So when you're really sick, and if someone says to you, well, you might just need to go listen to the wind for a bit, you'd probably punch him in the face. Like, I'm really sick. You're insulting me here. But the environment we evolved to thrive in looks nothing like the one that we now live in. So those things like getting back to nature and bringing that stress down through however you do it, it's really powerful.
It
really
is,
amazing.
and it's like you can't heal until your nervous system comes into that kind of the parasympathetic nerve, that heal and rest and digest state is dominant. We can't heal. It's just physiologically not possible to be in a healing state and racing around at 100 miles an hour. They don't go together.
I get a lot of people reaching out to me really feeling extra hopeless, unfortunately, after watching a lot of the recovery stories on this channel because they have kids. And they're like, all I see are people who are single, they have minimal life commitments. It looks like if you have kids, you can't recover. Like, is there a way to recover when you have kids? I can't just put my kids away for a year and focus on getting well. So, what do you say to that?
That's where I was. I was really struggling to find other people that had kids and had a family life and were able to recover, because I wasn't seeing it. And I was like, is it even possible? It is, because I have two of them, and they were kind of quite not needy, but they were of an age where they needed a lot of input from me. So when I first got ill, one was 10 and the other one was like 6. So they were of an age where they wanted their mum. They needed their mum to be there and around. And it's not easy by any way. I had a lot of mum guilt a lot of the time because I couldn't go and do the things they wanted me to do. There was a lot of days where my partner was amazingly supportive, and he just picked up everything that I couldn't do. He did. He would take them for days out and everything, and they would tell me about their day when they came back, but I couldn't go and join them on their day. I just kind of held on to the hope. I think for me, because I had post-viral fatigue when I was 18, I know I could recover. I knew it would happen. I just didn't know when it would happen and how it would happen, but I did know I would get there. And the kids, I when they were here, I would do whatever I could just to spend time with them, like read stories, just cuddle up and watch TV and just be there. And I remember when I was trying to get some support from the government and I had to fill in forms and stuff. And they said it might be good to ask your children what they want, what is it they miss most about their, mummy not being able to do things. And my daughter said, she's like, I just want you to be able to come and do things with us, mummy. I just miss you being there, which is like, it was just heartbreaking to hear that. But I would say it's like, just, you kind of got to do the bits you can do to be there with them and let them know that you're okay and you will get better. This is just temporary. I will be able to do all those things with you when I'm better. And let's make a big list of all the things that we can do when we can. And we got there, and it's like looking back now, at the time it seemed a massive amount of time, but it's kind of a smaller part now that I can look back and say, I missed out on doing stuff with them, but we're okay. We're definitely okay. We've still got a great bond, great relationship. We do, can do whatever we want together now, and keeping that communication and just keeping the love going and just being as supportive as you can from whatever you can do in your position, I think is the best you can do. And just, in a sense, almost don't push yourself too much. That's going to make you worse, because that's going to make your journey take longer.
Yeah, I've heard parents explain it on the channel here, like shifting that focus to yourself in the moment allowed their children to get their mother back. And I think it's like what you're saying. It feels massive in the moment, but in the big picture, it's a very small sacrifice for them having their mother for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And, children really enjoy simple things. Like my mom had ME/CFS when I was growing up, and I have such great memories of when she would have like a TV show we'd watch together, and she'd be on the couch and I'd get all the blankets from the house and I'd put them on the floor and I'd make this bed and we'd watch our TV show together. Like, it was just being around her. I was happy.
I think it is. It's that connection, letting them know they're loved, and it's not about the illness or anything like that. It's just about that quality time that you're spending together.
Yeah. I mean, it is tough. I don't mean to say that, because I do remember being frustrated, and it's a hard thing for a child to understand. But again, big picture, when you get yourself better, then...
Because I think, there's so much mum guilt that you can end up feeling, and it's kind of so natural to feel that, but in a sense it doesn't help the situation. So if there's any way you can kind of try and alleviate that to some degree, because that just gives you more negative emotions and hard emotions that you have to then try and work through, that takes energy that you don't really have. Yeah,
I was actually just talking about this, I think, in last week's interview, but I think all of us, not just moms, but all of us, we feel like when we're doing something we feel we shouldn't be doing, we have to punish ourselves somehow. We have to beat ourselves up. We have to sit in shame. And it's just so powerful to catch it in those moments and be like, this isn't helping anything.
No.
Me feeling horrible about this is not changing anything, and just trying to let that go and bring that self-compassion and just catching it in those moments. Because I think a lot of the times we're feeling that way, we don't even realize it. So
I've found that kindness and self-compassion have been a massive part of my recovery journey, just being kind to myself, because I was quite a kind of driven person, and I've really had to catch myself and just not use a stick, just like be kind, just so look at the, what you've achieved, what you can do, and it's made such a difference. It really makes a big difference that if you can shower yourself in kindness rather than being really critical of yourself. And obviously it's still it's sort of like a work in progress all the time. But it's been so helpful for me to catch myself. And when I'm working with clients, it's such a big part of people's recovery, is that learning to be kind and accepting that you need to allow yourself this time to recover, and it's not selfish, and it's so important to almost put yourself center stage, which I think a lot of people find so difficult. I know the people I've been working with, they're all kind of big people pleasers and find it hard to put themselves ahead of others' needs. And I think often it can be the case that we do put our needs behind others, and that ends up burning us out and kind of leading to these kind of fatigue related illnesses.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, is the case for many of us. It sounds like you've had to make a lot of changes in your life to kind of support your recovery. So what sorts of changes have you made?
I started I have a daily meditation practice. So I kind of get up before everybody else just so that I can have that peace and start the day in a calm space rather than kind of jump out of bed, pack lunches and all that kind of before school stuff. So having that kind of space just to breathe. I've found breath work so helpful, just to really learn how to breathe and fill my lungs and use I can't say the word.
Diaphragmatic?
Diaphragmatic breathing.
Some alcohol. Yeah.
to really expand the lungs and really feel that calm that you get from doing that. So I've used breath work, I use meditation. I'm really good at getting out in nature. I use that a lot just to go and walk in the peace and just the marvel of beauty and of nature and just watch the world unfold. I kind of have quite a strict routine around sleep. I need a lot of sleep. So I'm I have a routine that I stick to most of the time. If I don't, it's fine. I can do nights out and not stick to it and it not be detrimental in any way. But just that routine really kind of keeps my nervous system in check. And I'm very aware of my nervous system. I've become really tuned into it. I can feel when it's becoming activated and then I'll use breath work or even singing, the kind of things that trigger the vagus nerve to calm myself down. That kind of self-compassion, just that has been a really big part of me staying in a wellness state. It's interesting. I wrote a blog about this last week. So the kind of boundaries I've put in place to stay well. Another thing I learned was how I'd lost, like I said earlier, that kind of connection with myself. And I'd had since having children, I'd lost that belief in myself that I knew the things that were right for me and what was the right thing for me. And I'd kind of started being more influenced by others' opinions. And I've now got this thing that I've learned to trust in myself again and kind of ask myself what is the right thing for me rather than what so-and-so thinks or what Instagram thinks and to really kind of, trust in myself. And also another one is to not hold on to things so tightly, to be okay that things will change and I don't necessarily know what the path will be, but I have the trust and the belief that whatever comes along, I'll cope with. I've got through this hideous illness and I've come through that. So if I can do that, what gets thrown at me is okay. I don't need to be really... I went through a phase when I was ill where I became really anxious and I really struggled with anxiety for a while. And I just feel that I don't need to do that now because I'll cope whatever it comes along. It will be okay.
This is amazing, very helpful stuff. And it's what I'm hearing from a lot of people, which is a good thing. It's, seeing patterns and seeing things that are consistently impacting people's recovery significantly is really good. I know we don't have a one-size-fits-all plan, but there are definitely some strong themes. And the things that you're saying, I think, could benefit just about anyone. So, I'm sorry you've had to go through all of this nightmare, especially with children, but how amazing that you are here where you are now and you're helping other people. Jules, I'm just so happy for you and so grateful for you for sharing this, taking the time to do this. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It really, it's bizarrely, I have part of me, I wouldn't say I'm grateful for the illness, but it's been such a huge teacher to me. And I'm not sure I would have learned these lessons if it hadn't kind of taken me out for a while and given me all that space to think and to work this stuff out and kind of reprioritize the things that I need in my life to keep me well and healthy and to enjoy life as well. I think it's before I got ill, I don't think life was really stressful, and it's about rebalancing and learning what is actually important and where the energy needs to go and where it doesn't need to go.
Yeah, I think sometimes I would love, or maybe not love, but just to see like a sort of like Ghost of Christmas Past kind of thing, where I would be now had I not gone through everything I've gone through.
Yeah.
It would be so dramatically different. It's crazy. And I don't think anyone wants to say they're grateful for illness. That being said, amazing things come from it. It's unfortunate that you have to go through that suffering, and it's hard to achieve this kind of growth when things are going well. So I think, at least for all of us, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Just imagine if we got nothing out of this and we just were got plugged back into your same regular life that maybe wasn't working so well for you. So yeah, that is the good thing, because virtually everyone I talk to says what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. It's like yesterday I finished working with somebody and they were telling me, you know, you've changed my life. And just, I don't know if I would have been able to do something that I got such a compliment from before. So it's so important to find and be grateful for the things that I do get now that I didn't get before.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate that. People watching, really looking forward to your thoughts and your comments. Share what's working for you. This is what this channel is all about, is just sharing insights, sharing hope, working together to get past this. Because unfortunately, we're still not getting a lot of what we need from, mainstream medicine, although that's slowly changing. And if you're watching, if you want to share your story on the channel, let me know. There's a link, if you expand the video description, where you can reach out to me to let me know that. And you don't need to be fully recovered. There are people love hearing from people from all stages of recovery, and we all learn so much and we all have insights, and it just can feel really good to hear someone else's story and be like, yes, okay, I'm not alone. This sucks, but there are a lot of us going through this, and we'll get there. So yeah, thank you again, Jules. Thanks to everyone who's watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a ton out of it. And I'll link up here. She mentioned Veronica she's working with. Veronica's been a guest on the channel, so I'll put her interview up here if you'd like to check it out. Amazing woman, really insightful stuff.